Something, a podcast where we discuss everything from politics to pooping. I'm Sharon Guy.
And I'm Rosellen Rother. We're two 20-somethings living in San Francisco trying to figure out what we're doing with our lives and talking it through for all y'all to hear.
So I know we don't have official sponsors because we're pretty small and we're pretty new, but we wanted to let you guys know about a really great news source called The Skim. It's a daily email. It's geared towards millennial women, but it's really educational and it makes news really easy to consume in a language, and they write in the way that we talk. So it's really easy to read and a great way to get educated about what's going on in the world that day.
Yeah, I love The Skim. I read it every day on my way to work or at some point throughout the day at work when I need a break. But it always makes me chuckle because the way they word things is really funny. But we definitely recommend it for anyone that likes this podcast. It's a really great way to know what's going on a daily basis. As hard as it is to admit, we kind of missed talking about politics a little bit over the last few weeks. So this week we wanted to educate our listeners on some of the measures or propositions that are going to be on the California ballot on November 8th. We can't stress enough how important it is for everyone to exercise their right to vote. So the deadline to register is October 24th in California. And even if you're a lazy person like we both are, you can register online, and you can even sign up to receive a mail-in ballot, so you don't even have to go to a polling place on election day. So it's a win-win for everyone, and you don't have to move.
There's no excuse.
There's really no excuse to not be registered to vote.
Elections are really important. We live in a democracy, and this is the one day where we have a say in who's making the decisions. After Election Day, we have voted for people to make the decisions. So if you don't vote, you don't have any say. And I know that a lot of people feel that our election system is corrupt and your vote doesn't matter, but it really does matter.
Especially this year, when this is our one chance to prove to the rest of the world that we're not complete idiots.
Seriously.
Hashtag ready for Hillary.
I know. Well, on that vein, I was waiting for Bart the other day, and I saw this woman have a bunch of buttons on her bag, and one of them said, "Apathy kills." And all the other ones were, like, vegan-related and really, like, hippy-dippy, and, like, I was like, okay, I can't really get on board with that. But, like, the apathy one just really resonated with me, because that, I think, is a big problem of like, some people in our generation of, like, feeling that they can't make a difference or feeling that everything's so corrupt and everything's so messed up in the world that, like, what good can they do? And it's like, that's the worst thing you could feel. It's like, not doing anything is the worst. And so now we're kind of just in this place of, let's get educated and let's inform ourselves on what's going on in the world. And, like, that, I feel like we need to feel for more people. And, like, apathy is saying you're not feeling anything. And it really does kill. I believe that.
Yeah. You never know what can happen. We don't know what's going to happen in November, but let's try our best to make sure that...
Let's care about something.
Let's care about it.
And make that care known. So, speaking of, we wanted to talk about the propositions on the California ballot in November because I have been in this boat of getting to the voting booth and having no idea how to vote on these propositions. And I know they're important, but the wording is just so confusing. And I'm like, do I vote yes? And what does that yes vote mean? Do I vote no? And what does that mean? And so there are some important ones that we wanted to talk about, and let's get into it. So we're going to touch on the, like, ones that we don't have as much to say about first, but we still think it's important to know. So Prop 60 requires the use of condoms in porn, and this one seems small, and it kind of seems like duh, but I think it's really important because we're actually acknowledging the dangers of this industry and that diseases can spread really easily without the use of condoms and contraception. And so I think that putting it on the ballot shows validation that this is a real industry, this is affecting real people.
Yeah, I mean, the people that make and produce adult entertainment are people too, you know?
Yeah.
Like we see, I mean, I don't watch porn, but the people in those movies and photos, and they're real people, and they deserve protection just as much as anyone else that will be using contraception. So yeah, that's definitely a good one to know about. Prop 61 is about healthcare and drug prices, and it limits prescription drug prices from being higher than what the federal government paid for the drug in the first place. So for anyone that buys prescription drugs, more people do than you know. It's important to keep the prices at an affordable level. And
yeah, and like that dude Martin Shkreli or whoever he was is like main reason of why we need this. This dude made this one pill that like helps treat like it's like malaria and helps me like AIDS related diseases, and the price went from $13.50 a pill to $750 a pill in one day. And like he was like the source of all this controversy, but like the fact that he could even do that is an issue. So this proposition is really important because it's giving people more access to affordable healthcare. And like I think that's our trajectory of like getting healthcare to be more and more affordable, because if you don't have a healthy population, what do you have?
Mm-hmm. And the pharmaceutical industry is so corrupt. It's one of the worst. So I think this helps regulate that. Prop 55 is about taxes, and it extends the personal income tax that we already have on family incomes of $250,000 or more. So it'll just maintain that law as is now. A lot of these laws that we vote on have like expiration dates. Mm-hmm. So this is just to vote to keep that law in place.
Yeah. So basically, it's a good thing. It's like you're taxing people who can afford to pay those taxes.
Yes. Taxes, a subject that everyone hates to talk about, but as a knowledgeable voter, I think taxes are very important, and however annoying they are to pay, and every time we see that paycheck with a third less than we thought we were getting, I just have to think to myself, it's going towards a good cause. Education, I got a great education, and I hope that money that I pay goes towards that.
Yeah, and I think the main issue with taxes is that people don't see directly where it's going and how it's like benefiting them.
I think it should be more transparent. I wish it was more transparent so I could see, but I have faith.
I do too.
America's the greatest country on earth.
I know. I don't know if we're being naive by saying that, but I also think that like there is need for tax reform, but there's also a reason that we're paying these taxes, and there's a good reason.
Yeah. Prop 65 and 67 are both about the environment. 65 allocates the money earned from, so when you pay 10 cents for a grocery bag, right now the grocery stores are keeping that money. But what Prop 65 wants to do is allocate those funds to the Wildlife Conservation Board, so it'll go towards protecting the environment. And 67 is related to that as well, where it just prohibits plastic single-use carry-out bags. So in San Francisco, we never see plastic bags anymore. It's all paper bags. But I know a lot of like restaurants still use plastic like, carry-out bags. So I think those will be gone if this passes. So
yeah, that's great. I'm like, let's focus on the environment. Let's save the world. Did you hear about the flooding in Louisiana?
Yeah, it's awful.
It's terrifying. And then there's still people who are denying that climate change is real. Bill Nye had a really funny Instagram post about it. He's like, oh yeah, climate change doesn't exist. Just look at this regular rainstorm we got.
Yeah.
He was so sarcastic. It was so funny.
Oh, that poor state.
I know. That poor community has dealt with so much in the past few years.
Flooding seems really scary.
Proposition 63 is something that has been very close to my heart just in the recent of talking about violence in the U.S. Gun control is a huge like hot button topic right now in the election, and Proposition 63 basically prohibits possession of high-capacity magazines, which is another way of saying ammunition, and requires background checks for the purchase of ammunition in general. Hallelujah. Like, hello, common sense gun control. Like, we're not trying to take away everyone's guns, even though I would love to do that. Like, I know this country values the Second Amendment. I get that, but let's just be smart about it. And so I feel like this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, there's one part of it that says that it requires most ammunition sales to be made through licensed vendors. And I was kind of wary about the word most there.
Yeah,
and
like
I tried to find some clues on the website that we are using for this research, which is ballotpedia.org. It's got a full list of the propositions and the details, and it even has like each side of the argument. So it's very good for getting up to date on all the props. There are some on there that you won't hear from us because we don't have time to talk about all of them. But the gun control is really important, and I think it's baby steps. It doesn't say much about buying the weapons themselves. It's just the ammo. But whatever we can do to move forward to...
Yeah. I feel like the online sales and the gun show sales is the next step, but that is something that people are like holding on, like such a tight grip on that. But I'm like, that's just crazy that you can buy it so easily. Amy Schumer did a really great sketch on gun control, like on online sales. So basically she had a skit that was like the QVC, like online, like TV shopping. And it was like talking about selling guns, and like, it was like thousands of guns had sold, and they're just like selling it and like totally in it. And then the guy shoots himself in the toe, and he's like, it's fine, here, still buy this gun. It was just so funny. And it was just like, really highlights how ridiculous it is, how easy it is to buy a gun.
Not satisfied? Get your money back.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I used to always want stuff from
Another hot topic issue is the Citizens United Act, and so that's Prop 59.
Yeah, so it basically says that California legislators or politicians can use their power to overturn the Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission, which was a case in 2010. This one's a very confusingly worded proposition, so you might need to read a little further into it, but it basically says that campaigns shouldn't be allowed to use donations from people, like huge donations. It's like,
so it limits campaign spending, which is basically what has been talked about. Bernie Sanders is really big on this topic of like, there is a lot of inequality in campaign funding, and this is a baby step in that direction of like equaling the playing field.
Yeah. So that law was passed in 2010, but it's been a huge effort from the Democrats and progressives to get it overturned. So this law is just a baby step towards that in allowing California legislators to try harder to overturn that.
Right. So push
yes on 59.
Yes, exactly. That's where it's like, that's the goal. It's like a lot of these propositions are baby steps, but like that's the only way that we're getting stuff done in like such a polarized environment. Speaking of polarizing, the death penalty is a totally polarizing topic, and it's something that Rosellen and I hadn't really thought about our feelings on until researching for this. And there are two propositions relating to the death penalty, and this also highlights the importance of understanding what a yes vote means and what a no vote means on propositions. I don't know if they're purposely worded like SAT questions,
Probably.
like trying to confuse you.
Yeah.
But this is where that comes into play. So Prop 62 is a vote to repeal or keep the death penalty. And so voting yes on Prop 62 means that you want to repeal the death penalty, and no means you want to keep the death penalty legal. This is also goes into Prop 66, which wants to fix the death penalty. And I feel like this is the one where it's important to understand the yes versus no vote more clearly.
Well, a yes on 66 means that you want to change the already in place system that is the death penalty. And the death penalty system in California right now is very broken, and it can take a long time for the appeals process to go through. So if someone is convicted of a crime and sentenced to the death penalty, they have a right to an appeal, but a lot of times those appeals can take like up to 30 years. So these people are just sitting on death row. Taxpayer money is paying to keep them there. There's not enough lawyers to do those appeals. So this change will broaden the amount of appeals lawyers that there are to help these people and limit the appeals process to 5 years. So if you're going to get an appeal, it's going to be within 5 years, and then you're going to get executed or you're not. I read a crazy statistic that said that since the institution or the instatement of the modern day death penalty, there's been 87 instances where people have actually been innocent and have been released from death row and their sentence is taken away. That's a 1 in 7 error rate.
Which is insane. It just like goes to show how broken our justice system is. And like, that's what makes me so conflicted about the death penalty, because I'm like, I believe that people who do truly heinous crimes and are guilty of those crimes should be executed. Because if they're not contributing to society, if they're not a positive influence on society, I get that. But I want to be able to, without a doubt, know that those people actually did those crimes. And like right now, we don't have that like assurance that they actually did it. Like that 1 in 7 error rate is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, how can we be killing people like that?
Well, that's the thing. Right now, with the system being so broken, we're not people are just sitting there and nothing's happening. So my thought process going through this was I didn't really know if I was for or against the death penalty, but after reading up on how the system is broken and what is going to be put in place to fix it, I think that I am pro death penalty, but only as long as this second law passes that it's going to fix the death penalty.
Prop 66.
I don't think I'm for the death penalty right now because it's so fucked up and like doesn't work the way that the system's supposed to.
So that's what's hard, because like if you vote yes on Prop 62 that you want to repeal the death penalty, but then you vote to change the death penalty in Prop 66, how does that work?
I think you can vote whatever you want on 62, whether you're for the death penalty or not, but I think you should definitely vote yes on 62 to change it. 66, sorry. Yeah. Right? Does that make sense? Because we can't tell people to be for or against the death penalty.
Yeah,
but
that's
if they're going to vote something, they should definitely vote on 66 to fix it.
But one is contingent on the other.
Yeah,
like, if the death penalty is repealed, then 66 is irrelevant.
True, but in the chance that
it's not
repealed, they should still try to change it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. That makes sense. See, complicated. But once you talk about it, you can figure it out.
I literally typed into Google pros and cons of the death penalty today and came across a really good website that gave me a lot of good arguments on both sides. So I got to come to my own conclusion on it.
Which is what we're encouraging everybody to do.
Mm-hmm.
Educate
yourself.
Yeah, like get an opinion on something. You don't have to agree with your friends. You don't have to agree with us. You don't have to agree with your parents. Just like read up on stuff and like create your own opinion on these things, because it's important to know what you're voting for. And
set aside some time, because it can get overwhelming reading these. You don't have to read the exact law the way it was written, because that shit's so confusing. But just find a good, reliable website that will tell you the pros and the cons of each one, and you can come to your own conclusion.
Ballotpedia.org.
Thank you, Sharon.
It was really helpful. It's just really nice to have everything in one place and easy to understand and easy to read. So now,
drum roll, please.
My favorite, because I feel like this is just so appropriate for California, is Prop 64 is the marijuana legalization prop. We are doing a shameless 20-something endorsement. Yes on 64. Huge
Smoking
fan.
the ganj.
Huge fan. I just like can't believe we're not already at this point.
I know. So the use of medical marijuana was legalized in California in 1998, and recreational use wasn't on the ballot until 2010 when it got shut down. And it was a close vote. I think it was like 49 to 51 or something like that. All the stoners are too lazy to get off the couch. I think
mail-in ballots, dude.
Yeah, mail-in ballots. For those stoners out there. What was I going to say? This proposition basically legalizes the use of recreational marijuana for people 21 and older. It also imposes a 15% sales tax as well as a $9.25 per ounce cultivation tax.
That is a lot.
It is a lot, but an ounce is a lot. So imagine what you'd be paying for a gram. It's not going to be that much. Maybe like $1 at most.
Extra. Okay.
Yeah. The 15% sales tax is significant, though.
That is.
It was funny reading up on it because the $9.25 is like for the buds, and then there's like a $2 cultivation tax for the flowers, which I'm not sure what the flowers get used for.
It's the same thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's clearly not, because there's a difference in price. I'll have to read up more on that. So it also
news to me that bud and flower is not the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know. It also authorizes the resentencing and destruction of records of prior marijuana offenders. So this is huge because a lot of people have been put in jail or arrested or gotten felonies for possession or public use of marijuana. So if this passes, those people will all get off scot-free, which is great because marijuana is not a serious drug. And I mean, after watching like Weeds, I understand that like the drug trade can get very violent and scary, but on a normal street level, like your average 15-year-old that's smoking a doobie with his friends is not a violent criminal.
Yeah.
And we should not be paying tax dollars towards keeping him in jail, even for like a night. That's ridiculous. Some more details going into this. The law also puts a 5-year ban on unlimited grows. So this means that one grower can't just go ham and grow as much as you want and sell as much as you want. There's a ban on, or a limit to how much you can grow and sell. So this kind of levels the playing field for new businessmen going into the business and growing their own weed.
For the first 5 years.
For the first 5 years. So everyone's kind of on the same page. However, the big businesses like the CGA, which stands for the California Growers Association, they really want to repeal this part of the law, meaning that they want to have unlimited grows. And this could be detrimental for small farmers that are trying to get into the business because they could just be completely wiped out if that part of the law was repealed. So in this 5 years, the CGA is going to work really hard to get this part of the law taken out. So stay tuned for propositions in further years, because I think if this passes, which there's a good chance that it will, that's going to be an issue coming up soon. So
it's so interesting because you're implementing like capitalism onto an industry that already exists underground.
Yeah.
Like there's already this huge marijuana industry, like whether it's medicinal or recreational, like growers already exist, they already have farms, there's already like companies that are doing this. So now once we implement taxes, we put in the government, we like bring in the capitalist values that we have, like it'll be really, it's like a social experiment.
Well,
like,
think about it. If these regulations weren't here, just as if regulations weren't on huge businesses, capitalism would just play out the way like nature is, like the way it normally would. And that's why government is so important, is because we need, I don't want to say it's not fair, but like you want to give everyone a chance, you know? And naturally some people are just gonna be better than others. And like some people have the power to grow 1 million pounds of weed, like, and they'd clearly take over the industry right away. So you need to give everyone a chance, at least at first.
I wonder if there'll be like a Comcast equivalent of like something that's a monopoly on the weed market
in the
like
San Francisco area, only allowed to buy from one person.
Like it's like the main supplier is this one grower, and like
well, think how many growers are up in like the Emerald Triangle already. Like that's a huge part of like Humboldt County's economy. Like I watched a documentary on it.
Yeah, there's tons of documentaries. There's tons of stuff on the internet about weed and the industry, and there's
Netflix loves the ganj. There's tons of
same with
weed
Vice.
documentaries.
Vice has this whole section called Weedicat, and it's really fun to watch. Like there's videos, there's articles, there's this one dude who just like tries different things and like talks to different people. And 60 Minutes actually did a really interesting piece on marijuana in Colorado, since now it's legal for recreational use, but it's still federally illegal. So it was really interesting just talking to companies there who, it's really lucrative market and they're making a ton of money, but it's all in cash.
Yeah.
Because they have to pay like everything in cash. They have to pay their workers in cash, taxes in cash, everything. And so that like opens them up for corruption. It opens them up for like
money laundering.
Yeah, just a lot of dangers of dealing in cash. And like one of the guys on the 60 Minutes interview was talking about just like, that's how gangs start. Like that's how the mafias run, cash. Like cash is king in those things. So it's like if it's federally made legal, like it's just totally a different issue, like that will bring in a lot more money to the federal government. And so that's like baby steps, like we said. So California first, there's like 8 other states that have it on the ballot in November.
Well, it's been interesting to see in Colorado kind of like they're paving the way for other states, and it's cool to see everything they have going on there. I've never been, but I
can't
would love
believe
to
we
go.
haven't gone.
I know. Does that mean I need to get cash out?
Yeah, seriously.
No credit cards allowed?
Shit. I don't know, but it's blown my mind that we haven't gone to Washington
That should be
or
our
Colorado.
That should be our next girls trip.
Definitely. So another thing that's really interesting is that the DEA, just reassessed and didn't reclassify, but like declined to reclassify marijuana. So it's still classified as Schedule 1, which is on the same level as like ecstasy, meth, heroin, and other narcotics, which I think is just crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Like that makes no sense to me. Like, yes, I understand that like there are deaths related to marijuana, but like not to the extent of alcohol for one, or these other crazy drugs like meth. I'm sorry, marijuana should not be on the same level as meth. It does not have that kind of effect on people. Like,
I understand you probably shouldn't be driving a car if you're super binged, but like it's not gonna like get you addicted to the point where you die.
And also like there was a huge point of contention about the potency of edibles, and now there's regulation on that because people,
there probably should be.
There totally should be, because people were like hallucinating and like really freaking out and calling the ambulances and like going to the hospital because they not overdosed, but they just had a little bit too much of the brownie and thought they were like literally somebody else. So thankfully that has not happened to anyone that I know, or to me, thank God. But it's possible, and so it's just regulating your intake
They need to put like a nutrition label on it with like THC
which they
percent.
do. They do now.
But it's hard for people to know what.
But they put a dosage. There's like this is like has 15 grams of. Or 15 milligrams of THC or something like that, or a percentage, and they're like, we recommend taking like in like 4 serving sizes. So it's like one brownie, they're like, this is 6 servings. Yeah. So they tell you how much to take.
But like, everyone's different for their. So like, if you ate like a serving, you wouldn't feel anything. But if I ate a serving, I'd feel it way more.
Yeah, so it's like you know yourself also, and like you know your own intake. But it's like alcohol. You learn your limits. Like, your freshman year of college, you're barfing on the side of the road, maybe. Not us, but I'm just saying. IV, you see that. Like, you learn how much you can take.
Yeah.
And, like, alcohol is so much more. Like, you can straight up die from drinking too much alcohol. Like, no one has died from straight up drinking or smoking too much weed.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other related, like, maybe they were driving a car and they got in an accident. Yes, because you're dumb.
Yeah.
But, so, like, 25 states allow for medical use of marijuana. So for the DEA to completely just ignore those 25 states and ignore these 8 or 9 states that have it on the ballot for recreational use is so weird to me, because I'm like, you should, like, listen to the people.
And it's a catch-22, because when the DEA says that a drug is Schedule 1, it's technically very illegal to buy that drug. So to do the research that they need to prove that medical marijuana isn't on the same level as those other intense drugs, they would need to illegally buy it, which is breaking the law. So it's like it's going around in a circle, and they can't get out of it until it's scheduled as something else.
Yeah, so I wonder now if like Colorado and Washington are doing more research on the like the medical uses.
Hopefully,
or like
that's where that taxpayer dollar should go to, or at least a little.
Totally. So obviously we're unequivocally yes on. What's the
64?
64. But we do understand, like, there are cons to this. And so there is uncertainty about, like, how it would affect the economy, and, like, if people are actually using it, like, for medicinal use. Well, right now, it's like, people have medical cards that don't necessarily have medicinal use. It's like, because people are already recreationally using it, like, let's put some regulation so we can have some more, and, like, data will tell us everything. Like,
but what's another thing that scares me is, like, think about how easily we got our hands on alcohol in high school. Like, we don't know what the consequences are going to be if every kid in high school starts smoking with their brains not fully developed. Like, thinking back to our book discussion on the 20-somethings. Like, if everyone's, like, I never smoked until college. Like, my brain was way more formed than, like, these poor kids smoking in middle school, like, age 12. That's, just frying their brain. So, like, in that sense, I don't think that it's right. But, I mean, at least it's 21, but so is alcohol.
I know. Yeah. So it's like we had access to alcohol in high school. It's like, it's hard because it's like, you don't want to give kids... You don't want to promote minors using it. Yeah. Obviously, we're not promoting minors smoking weed. But there are other things out in the world that minors have access to as well, like cigarettes. There are kids smoking cigarettes in high school, which is much worse for you.
Actually, part of this law prohibits companies from marketing to minors.
Good.
So that's good.
They should. And that's also, let's give more information on the effects on minors. So this kind of goes back to the research conversation, though. It's like, if we have enough research to see what the effects are on a minor's brain of smoking weed, we can educate people. It's like DARE. But I don't even know if DARE exists anymore.
I hope so, dude. I won for my whole school. And here I am now.
No.
Yes, I'm 64. Who would have thought?
But I feel like it's... DARE was not really run well because it just educated us on like what everything was.
I wrote a killer essay and I got a great jacket that my mom still wears.
I am not surprised by that at all. But I think educating kids on the effects, because like I know people don't think that kids care about their brains or their futures, but they do, and like we should not treat kids like they don't understand the effects. And like I don't know if we understood the effects of alcohol as much when we were younger.
Definitely not.
No one told us until later. Like, we educated ourselves and like, oh, this affects up your liver? Who knew?
I mean, they told us that in DARE, but we were only 6th grade. Yeah, dude.
Maybe it's too young?
Maybe it's too young. Well, it's right before you go into middle school, so that's when everything hits the fan.
I just feel like they need, like, a better way to educate kids about drugs that's not promoting it or making it seem exciting.
They should do another dare, like in 8th grade. 1 in 6th, 1 in 8th.
I guess they have health class, which gives us the effects of drugs and
Yeah.
alcohol.
Oh, that was such a shit class. No one
That
paid
class
attention.
traumatized me. Like, I will never forget the meth video we watched, or that chewing tobacco gives you a hairy tongue. Don't Google image search that. It's so gross.
Chewing tobacco should be a no-brainer. Like,
Yeah.
literally, you have to have no brain to chew tobacco. It's disgusting.
I've known some people.
Ew, it grosses me out.
But let's talk about, like, our parents' generation. Like, would they vote yes on 64?
My mom is definitely voting yes on 64.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into too much detail, but she has rediscovered the MJ. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Like,
for, like, medicinal purposes.
for medicinal purposes and recreational. She had foot surgery and was kind of in bed for longer than she expected, and I think we definitely helped her get through that. But yeah, our parents are getting older, and it's hard to see them go through that, because getting old is something no one wants to see. But at the same time, there's this great resource that they can use that's not pills, you know, it doesn't have horrible side effects most of the time.
Yeah.
Easy to get their hands on, and it's relatively affordable, you know? And I understand a lot of people don't want to smoke it, but there's so many ways around that. They've got, like, lollipops, you know? Like,
they have oils. They have, like, a spray.
I kind of want to try the oil. You just, like, rub it into your hands or feet or something, and it gets into your bloodstream.
They have so many different things. I'm very simple in my use.
It's so funny to see how people are being so creative with it. Like, you can have, like, a weed bar at your wedding, a bud and breakfast is, like, a hotel.
That's the one in Colorado.
That has, like, you can choose your strain, smoke a little
that's
before
our next
breakfast.
girls trip destination for sure.
Super down.
But I was more so talking, like, so I guess your parents are different. Like, I'm wondering, like, how would my dad vote?
Well, my dad's
64?
super against it. My dad's against it. Mom loves it. But my dad's not a citizen, so he can't vote. Sucker.
Sucks for you.
Yeah.
You have no say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious of, like, people also that grew up smoking weed in the 70s, and I'm like,
it's completely different stuff. My mom said that. The first time she smoked, she's like, this is not the same stuff we were smoking in the 70s. She also smoked out of a bong, so.
That's true. Well, that actually, talking about the 70s brings us into our next segment, which is stuff we're watching and that we think you should too. And this is like TV shows and movies, whatever we kind of like and we think is good. And something that I started watching recently is The Get Down on Netflix. And it takes place in the Bronx in the 1970s. And it's basically about the birth of hip-hop, and it's like disco vibes. The outfits are awesome. The acting is really good. Baz Luhrmann is the creator, which he did the Romeo and Juliet with Leo version, and he did Moulin Rouge. Like, his style's super cool. And they're smoking weed all the time in this show. And so I thought about that of like, wow, how are they just like... Obviously, it's not real, so it's like you don't see them getting really high, but it's like everyone's functional. Like, it's not that stigma of being high and stoner and you're lazy. It's like they're smoking in the car, and then they're going to, like, dance, and then they're going to the store, and, like, they're just living their lives. It's like, it's how people smoke cigarettes.
I wonder if they were spliffs.
They look
a little
like
tobacco in there.
Maybe. Who knows? But this show is so beautifully done, and the music is awesome. If you like 70s music, it's super cool. And it's just... It's a little bit quirky, which I like, but Baz Luhrmann, like, has that style, and, like, the cinematography is just awesome. So,
how many episodes deep are you?
So it's like 6 parts, but the first part is an hour and a half. So it's like 6 episodes, and, like, the first one is giving you all the backstory and, like, the character development, which, like, character development's everything. I love that when it's, like, done well in a show. I'm like, yes, because you feel like you're in the story with them. You feel like you feel for that main character, and, like, you're just invested emotionally. I get like that with that. So really great show. I think it's being overshadowed by Stranger Things, which I have not really dived into.
Too scary for me.
I don't know, just like I've like mixed reviews, and then I've also heard like I would really like it, but I'm just like, I keep going and I'm just like, nah. And then I chose The Get Down, and I'm so happy I did.
Get down, stay down.
Yeah. And then another show that I've been watching that Rose Ellen refuses to get into is The Night Of.
I'm slowly being convinced. I just haven't started.
The first episode's a little bit intense, and like...
I'm a scaredy cat for everyone who didn't know.
It's not scary, but it's dark, and I think that, like, it's HBO, and it is not the serial, like, podcast storyline, but it's very similar, and that's kind of, I think, what drew many people to it. They kind of, like,
You don't know if he's guilty or innocent.
They poached that in that audience. Yeah. So you're unsure about his innocence, and like the acting is so good. The writing, everything in that show is amazing.
I do love a good HBO show.
Yeah.
They know how to do it.
They do. And they also know how to like cancel what's not doing well. Like they know how to catch something when it's like not like getting the crowd's interest.
That Vice Principal show is done for.
Not good.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like they just pulled Vinyl.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I watched so many ads for that shit. I was so annoyed.
Yeah. But it's like they can
Interesting.
see. Somehow Ballers is still on, but I'm like, who's watching this?
Matt likes Ballers.
Yeah, see, guys.
Yeah.
But going to another network, or I don't even know if they'd be considered a network. Transparent season 3 is coming out September 23rd. And I just rewatched like a couple of the episodes of season 2 at the end. And honestly, like there was a scene, episode 9, Man on the Land, where they're at that Idlewild Music Festival for all women. There's just, it's so beautiful.
It's so real.
It's so touching. Like the show's so real, the people are so real, but also like the artistry of the show, like having the parallel storylines of like Berlin in the 1930s and like what's happening with their family in present day, and just like how it's connecting to like Allie finding her roots and like digging into her family history and like how it relates to like being trans. And it's just so beautiful, and like the acting is great, and like the portrayal of a Jewish family is awesome.
So accurate. Everyone's just like yelling over each other all the time.
The mom, literally, you have to interrupt her every time. Like I was rewatching, I'm like, she never stops talking. It's just like, when do you breathe? Like stream of consciousness, like moving from topic to topic.
It's just genetic. They're superhumans.
It's crazy. But it's also just like the like sibling dynamics I really enjoy watching.
Love it. Love the older sister who gets hooked on weed. Love the brother. His storyline is so effed up with the rabbi.
Yeah.
But like he's so troubled. Like I want the best for him, but at the same time he keeps screwing up, and I'm just like, no.
Yeah, and I feel like it really shows you that people are flawed, but like we're trying. Like everyone's trying their best to figure it out, and like it doesn't always work out well, but
yeah,
at least we're fucking trying.
I'm fucking trying. Obviously the main character is fucking trying real hard.
Yeah, Jeffrey Tambor is just like amazing in this role, and I can't imagine that it's easy because there's so much.
I almost feel like he's a woman now
in their head. Yeah, that's the thing. So the character development, like you're in this family, you're totally like engulfed in their lives and like their stories, and like you want them to succeed, and I feel like that's really good. And I feel like these shows also, I feel like a couple years ago with like House of Cards and like I don't know what other ones, but where you're not really sure you like the protagonist. Like you're not sure you like the main character.
Orange is the New Black is a good example of that too.
Yeah, so it's like that's the point of it. But I feel like in Transparent, like there's so many of the characters. It's like you relate to different parts of all of them, but there isn't one main person that you're like supposed to like. I think that's what's nice about TV now is like there's no one that you're supposed to like. There's no one person that you're supposed to fully relate to.
Because how are they going to keep an audience? Like they need to make it relatable for everyone. Orange is the New Black, has a lot of really good character development. Like that's like the main positive thing of the show is like each episode they do backstory on one of the characters, just because like there's so many women in the show and they do backstories on each of them throughout. So there's been 4 seasons now, and like they're still doing backstories. Like they'll go back to someone they've already done a backstory on, and like just later in her life, or like why she's in jail. And it took. The season 3 was a little slow, but season 4 is picking up, and like it's really good.
Have you finished it yet?
Not yet. I'm 2 episodes away.
The last episode is crazy.
I just watched the third to the last episode, which was just like a ton of bad shit happening to everyone. It was Crazy Eyes' backstory. Oh my God, it was so heavy.
So sad.
So sad. Oh my gosh. And then the body, they find the body. Sorry, no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. But Orange is the New Black, definitely, I feel like season 3 was not that good, but season 4 is awesome. So if you like lost touch with it, I would jump back in and binge watch this weekend.
Totally. That's most of what we have for you guys today. As usual, write us an email at 420something@gmail.com. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or the podcast app. Follow us on Instagram at 20something podcast, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.